US President Joe Biden has met with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for the very first time in a bid to reset relations between the two countries. The top Democrat had previously promised to make the oil-rich kingdom an international pariah for its human rights record, but that was before Russia's invasion prompted a global energy crisis and rising inflation. US officials say MBS ordered the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, an allegation the Crown Prince has denied. But Biden says he has warned the Saudi royal against any future attacks on dissidents.
He basically said that he was not personally responsible for it. I indicated I thought he was. He said he was not personally responsible for it, and he took action against those who were responsible. And then I went on to talk more about how that dealing with any opposition to or criticism of the Saudi administration in other countries was viewed as, to me, a violation of human rights.
Among other issues, Biden announced international forces will withdraw from a strategically positioned island previously used to block Israel's access to the Red Sea.
International peacekeepers, including U.S. troops, will leave Tiran Island in the Red Sea, where they've been for over 40 years, since the Camp David Accords.
Riyadh wants to turn the uninhabited islands into a luxury resort, but the deal still needs Israel's green light. While the Middle Eastern neighbours have no formal ties, following the meeting, Saudi Arabia announced that it is opening its airspace to Israeli airlines. The US House of Representatives has voted to restore abortion access. The lower house also passed a second bill protecting those who travel to another state to seek termination. The measures highlight the Democrats' efforts to protect abortion rights 3 weeks after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. However, Nancy Pelosi has stressed these largely symbolic bills need to be approved by the evenly divided Senate.
But we must ensure that the American people remember in November, because with 2 more Democratic senators, we will be able to eliminate the filibuster when it comes to a woman's right to choose and to make reproductive freedom the law of the land. The law of the land.
As President Joe Biden's approval ratings hit an all-time low, pro-choice activists have criticised the White House for not doing enough to protect reproductive rights. Since the court's ruling last month, which is expected to lead to abortion bans in roughly half of the 50 states, thousands of protesters have marched on the Capitol. The wailing of sirens were heard across Kramatorsk's central square on Friday night after Russian bombs struck the Ukrainian-held city in the Donbass region. Police say that so far no casualties have been reported because the strike took place after curfew. However, Ukraine's military says it has destroyed approximately 30 Russian military sites with the help of M270 multiple launch rocket systems from the US and the UK. This comes as a strike on an apartment building in Konstantinivka, Donetsk, left at least 1 person injured. Meanwhile, 2 universities in Mykolaiv were left for ruin after 10 rockets were launched at the southern city. The city's mayor Alexander Senkovich says Moscow is responsible. 4 people were injured, but no one died in the attack. Following a missile strike on the central city of Vinnytsia that killed at least 23 people on Thursday, rescuers are still combing through the rubble. A 4-year-old girl and 2 boys, aged 7 and 8, were killed in the strike. But Russia claims the attack, which took place hundreds of kilometres from the front line, had targeted a meeting with Ukrainian military officials and foreign arms suppliers. Meanwhile, Ukraine's national police has begun forensic analysis on the remains of the victims. According to the police force, 19 out of the 23 victims have been identified. Kyiv says 80 people remain in hospital after the deadly missile attack, while 7 people are still in critical condition at Vinnytsia City Clinical Emergency Hospital.
Days of political uncertainty in Italy following the government crisis triggered by the populist Five Star movement. Prime Minister Mario Draghi, whose resignation has been rejected by the President, is counting on his strength to see if he can still win the confidence of Parliament. In the street, a feeling of weariness, although with different points of view.
È un governo che non è stato votato da nessuno.
This is a government which has never been elected. We've had governments led by technocrats for 30 years. We should do just one thing, call the elections and whoever wins rules. In this moment of a world crisis, it's not acceptable to have a situation like that. We need for these people to come to an agreement and that we postpone this crisis until the end of the summer after the war. According to some polls, if the crisis were to lead to early elections, they would be won by the far right, although they wouldn't be the only beneficiaries. Right-wing parties are celebrating following the latest developments. They're the main winners here, of course, Meloni, but also in a way Salvini and Berlusconi. That's because the current crisis has given them renewed negotiation power. So if the current government stays, they will have more space for themselves and will gain more power. If the government collapses instead, there will be an early election, but it won't be because of their fault. They did not create this unstable situation. Before appearing in Parliament on Wednesday, Draghi will close an historic energy supply deal in Algeria that will end dependence on Russian gas. It could be a final and important ace up his sleeve.
Southern Europe is going through a nightmarish week of heat and scorched earth. In Portugal, more than 2,000 firefighters were still working on Friday on the 4 large fires active in the north and centre of the country. There is at least 1 death and about 60 injured. Since the beginning of the year, more than 30,000 hectares have been burned, 68% more than in 2021. The situation is not much better in Spain. In Sicares, on the other side of the border, a large fire has devoured more than 6,500 hectares of forest and scrubland and threatens the Monfragüe National Park. 30 people have been evacuated. In southwestern France, 1,000 firefighters and 10 air tankers are trying to contain 2 forest fires in the Bordeaux region. More than 11,000 people have been evacuated and some 7,300 hectares have been burned since Tuesday. French President Emmanuel Macron has thanked firefighters for their work and acknowledged European solidarity, an assistance mechanism that has also benefited Spain, Portugal, Albania and Croatia. The fires that are scorching forests and fields on the European Mediterranean coast reaches as far as Greece. Fanned by strong winds, they are burning southeast of Athens and on the island of Crete. Authorities have ordered the evacuation of residents in the area. Raymond Depardon, a living legend of the world of photography and a prominent member of the press agency Magnum, has travelled all over the world armed with his Leica camera. He was in Lyon, invited by the Institut Lumière for 2 exhibitions dedicated to him this summer. One on the city of Glasgow and the other on the landscapes that have long fascinated him.
I was a press photographer for a very long time. I traveled a lot and I tried to do things, not for myself, but to try to confront different things. Travel, wander, discover new atmospheres.
Black and white pictures taken all over the world with a vertical vision and the incredible eye that makes Depardon one of the masters of documentary art and photography. An innate sense of perspective served by prints that purport to retain a maximum of light.
I often say that a day is magnificent when you can see the horizon. That's it. You need to see the horizon. I needed to go out and confront the horizon, to see what I was going to bring back and report. Not to necessarily tell a story, but only to witness the light.
Many people came for the book and poster signing. His exhibition Glasgow is the result of a report commissioned by the Sunday Times in the early 80s, but which was never published.
I was asked to do a report on Glasgow, an industrial city in the north of Scotland. And then I walked into the city. It's a world completely opposite to my world, and I am fascinated by these people. The light, the colours, the industrial city in the Thatcher era.
The These photos are a striking testimony to a country hit hard by the crisis and poverty. Raymond Depardon is the author of over 100 books and films which are a testimony to our times. The exhibition can be seen in Lyon until the 28th of August.